We're talking with Susan Murphy Milano, crime blogger and survivor, best-selling author. Monica Quezon, director of the Q Center for Missing Persons. And we'll want to make sure we give out both of your information before the end of the segment. But there's another case we're going to talk about, and possibly the sister of this missing person will be calling in. We'll see in a minute. But back in 2009, on April 9th, a beautiful mom went missing. Alyssa Mclemore. What do you know about that case? I'm looking at her picture, and she's just beautiful, and she just disappeared. What happened?
Monica, why don't you go into that a little bit?
Well, basically, from what I understand, she had left the family home, and her mother was very, very ill, and she was supposed to be coming right back. I mean, it wasn't like, I believe she was running out to do some errands or whatnot, and long story short, she didn't return, and her mother passed away. Family continued to try to reach her, and then this 911 call came in, and that's really what alarms me in this case is that, once she was reported missing, that the authorities discovered that there was a cellular phone, her cellular phone, was trying to call 911, and we don't know, why. And it was the very next day, we don't know why she was trying to call 911, and they've never been able to really locate the area that this call came from.
Had they located the phone?
No. And it's just been, it's pretty much, that's it. It said that, they used GPS sensors and, try to get an exact location, before the phone eventually died on them, but they weren't able to, they do believe the call came from the Kent area, but they just were unable to narrow it down. And, I mean, it's just been a baffling mystery ever since. Nothing.
Do we know if was she going to school? Was she a stay-at-home mom?
She was definitely, she was a mother. She had a young child. I believe she was working at the time. It's been very unclear, with the mom knowing the most about her, and other family members trying to get a tap on things. And it's kind of like she just never got any kind of media attention. The family was already going through such a tragedy that it was like,
because her mom died a couple of days later, right?
Yeah. I mean, it was like, boom, 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 and it just kind of overwhelmed their family. And then once everything started settling back, they're like, oh, my God, especially when they found out about the 911 call, they're like, they didn't even know where to start, where to begin, and
so they all lived together? They all lived together?
Yes.
Okay, so she was married and she had a baby, or was she a single mom?
She was a single mom in a relationship, and according to the sister earlier today, Alyssa and the father of the child, they had a good relationship, but they just weren't connected together anymore. But he was in the child's life.
He spoke highly of her as well, so, it's kind of like, nobody knows. They had a witness that saw a green 1990 model pickup truck, possibly with Oregon plates, approach Mclemore, and but they don't know even if that is 100% either.
Did Alyssa? Do you know, Monica, if she had a Facebook page or if she used texting at all? Did she have a track phone? Did she have her own phone?
No, her phone was definitely not a main line like a high-end phone like for a major company or whatnot. And that's why I think maybe they were having difficulty trying to trace it. A lot of people don't understand a lot of these track phones or some of these companies that aren't national companies, when you get them kind of like local or whatnot, or not some of the major carriers, they don't have a lot of the capabilities that some of the other cell phone companies have.
So if you get XYZ or 123 company giving me a minute as I go, then those aren't always the best as far as safety, are they?
No, they're not, and a lot of them don't offer GPS, and a lot of them, one major company that I learned through a Georgia case that they do not save text messaging either, in their
server
customers' phones for them. So if they were to get missing, they're not able to go back and retrieve text messaging because they said it costs too much. And then also there's other GPS devices that they could have, but they don't purchase because it's too much per tower for those particular companies. Some of the larger companies purchase it because they have the customer base to actually support that. So, you really need to ask these type of questions when you go to purchase a cell phone plan. What are the capabilities? What can the company do? Because nowadays, that's one of the major ways that, it's almost become a standard of operation in a missing person investigation is, do they have a phone? Let's pull them. Let's pull that information. And that's the sad part about, them not being able to tap into her. They have a general area, but as you know, a general area can be a very large area.
And what's really cool now, too, for missing persons cases is that when you have a Facebook page and you have a mobile cell and you're communicating and you're hooked into Facebook, that it will show you the location of where you are, which to me is kind of cool because, you kind of can't lie about it anymore. And just over the weekend, a young girl her remains were found. She went missing on the 30th. It was Carrie Lee Cotta out of Arkansas, Fort Pierce. And on the 29th, now she was reported missing on the 30th. On the 29th, he sends her a message on Facebook, and it says where he's at, as he does it at 2:43 in the morning. Within 24 hours later, she's gone. She's not there. That is also important for people to look at, not erase, not go into, because we're seeing Facebook really play an important part in these cases of missing.
Yeah.
All the social media networks, it played a large, and it still is playing a large role in several cases, Cassandra Townsend. There's many cases that the social media networks are playing roles in investigation and helping investigators. But, the cell phone is a great tool if it has the capability of getting the information. And then, too, investigators need to be educated on what to ask for. You just can't call anymore and say, I need the ping. There's so many things that you can ask for. But a lot of times that's lost because people aren't educated in what they can actually get.
Hold that thought. Patrick, did you say we have a caller? The guest has arrived. Bring her on in.
Hello?
Hi, Mickey.
Hi, welcome aboard. We were just talking through your sister's disappearance. What a tragedy that is, and it's just dumbfounded. I mean, what do you think happened that day?
I mean, I'm so confused on what happened. So many things have happened in between there. There was an incident where the police were looking for her for she was involved in a rape charge, and I believe they was looking for her there. They came to the house a couple of times. And then again, I really can't say. We're praying for the best and preparing ourselves for the worst.
Yeah, so she just disappeared. There didn't seem to be any trails going off anywhere. Did they talk with anybody? What do you think actually happened based on who you knew your sister to be and who she knew?
From what I know, I mean, the only thing I remember, the last day that I remember seeing Alyssa, we was getting ready to take her mom to her doctor's appointment. Alyssa and my other cousin, Tasha, we grew up as sisters as well, was at the house with Alyssa, and that's the last person I've seen her with. They said they couldn't use GPS from her phone because she had a BlackBerry Pearl, and I guess they didn't have GPS at the time. So they couldn't do that, and then they told us that they were going to have special people come and do pinpoints to see where from the towers to try to track where the last call came from, but we never heard anything back on that either.
And who do you know was in her life? I mean, what about the guy that was the father of her child? I mean, any other boyfriends, any other involvement with men?
Well, Alyssa lived a lifestyle, a lifestyle that I can't really speak on, just because I don't know some of the men Alyssa dealt with. I know that her baby's dad has always, every function that we have done, he's always been there for the family. If we need something, we can always call him. He's not too far from where we live at. But I know they wasn't like fighting at the time, but they weren't fully together as like saying they were boyfriend and girlfriend. But we still lived in the same house. They still slept next to each other. I don't know.
So there was question marks as far as who was involved with her.
Not as far as him like doing something, but like as question marks as how they was going to proceed on going on with the full breakup or
a custody or paying child support. Did she file through the courts at all?
No, not at all. Not at all.
Did he pay child support?
No, they stayed together. We all stayed in one big house because of my aunties being sick. So he always took care of his child. He was always there with her, you know, buying
was
her
there
stuff
talk
that she
maybe
needed.
of her thinking of leaving with the child at all?
Not that I recall, no.
Okay. And so that you saw that they got along pretty well?
Yeah.
What about her friends? Any of her friends come forward to help you with her as far as maybe where she could have gone or who might have seen her last?
I haven't. From the friends that I have in contact with, they did, you know, they still help out and still want to know questions about, but like the ones that I know and that I don't, like, she could have been with them last, I don't have, like, their direct number or anything, so it's kind of,
this is not American
kind of hard to go
Hold
that way.
Thought. We'll be back in just a second.
Powder dry. Dr. Lori Roth will be back in just mere moments. Her name is Dr. Lori Roth, and here she is again, right now.
This is our short segment, and we're talking with Alyssa's sister Mickey and Monica Quezon and Susan Murphy Milano about crime and what's going on. How do you survive living with a missing sister? It's tragic. Monica, tell us about the Q Center in this short segment. How can people get connected with you?
Well, it's easy. They can, if they're on the internet, they can visit our website, which is www.ncmissingpersons.org. If they have a missing person, right up top, they can click on File a Report, and there's complete instructions there on what they need to do. We also have accounts on all the social networks, but we would prefer you to go to our website. They can also email us at qcenter@aol.com. And then, of course, call our organization anytime. We have our office number is 910-343-1131. But we also have a 24-hour line they can call at 910-232-1687 and, inquire on what steps they need to take, and we can move from there to help them.
What is that website one more time?
Our website is www.ncmissingpersons, and that's with an S.org. And like I said, there's plenty of information there about missing persons. If they want to volunteer, they can go in and click. We have 2 different volunteer forms, one for regular volunteer and then one if they have search and recovery or rescue background. They can apply there.
Wonderful.
No, this is not American Idol, so keep your shirt on and keep your powder dry. Dr. Lori Roth will be back in just mere moments. Her name is Dr. Lori Roth, and here she is again, right now.
We're talking with Monica Quezon of the Q Center, Susan Murphy Milano, and that's SusanMurphyMilano.com.
Oh, wait, we have a new site up. Everybody needs to go to it. It's called DocumentTheAbuse.com. It goes to the evidence abuse affidavit. It's revolutionary, so if you are in an abusive relationship, you need to go to this site. If you're a prosecutor, if you're law enforcement, get the victims that come to see you and do this. Everything's now in one place. We launched it 5 days ago.
Wonderful.
So it's DocumentTheAbuse.com.
Okay, we're going to have that every week for a while until people get that in their heads. And, Mickey, thanks for sharing with us your concerns and about your missing sister. I mean, it just doesn't sound good that, 2 years later she's still missing. And you haven't heard a single phone call, nothing.
Not a single phone call. I mean, there was recently, just last week, a little something on Facebook that had the family worried, and so the police are just looking into it. But it just seems like, I don't know, from what I see, the police don't contact us, every month. Hey, we're still working on the case or anything. They don't even contact us and tell us that they're switching detectives.
Monica, what do you say to a family like that? Answer that on the air, please, about when they don't get response. What should a family do?
Well, you have to keep calling, and you have a right to have one investigator that is on your case that is keeping in touch with you. If they're not taking your calls or they're not communicating with you, then you need to go into the department and request a sit-down meeting and have 2 or 3 family members go in there and sit down and get someone that's going to communicate with you, because this is your case. You're allowing them to investigate your case. This is your loved one, and you have every right to get updates and to be able to have someone that if something does come up, that you know who you've got to call, and that they're going to, if they're investigating it, they need the information quickly, not a week later when someone finally gets back to you.
Right.
So you need to be very vigilant about that, and call, once a week. Hi, I'm so-and-so, I want to touch base. Even if they tell you there's nothing new, you've got to be the voice for her. You've got to be the strength and to keep calling, and you're not bugging them. This is their job. If it wasn't for victims and for crime, they wouldn't have a job.
Right.
So, law enforcement work for us as a community. They're here to serve, protect, and honor in what they do, and, they need to honor your case. So if you feel like, you need to share that with your investigator. I want better communication. I don't feel like, try not to let a relationship go bad, but if the investigator is not responding to any of your communication or your feelings or whatnot as a family, then you need to go a step further and to, go to someone else in that department because ultimately that's what you need to have. You need to have someone you can communicate with, and someplace when you hear as a family or a tip, even if it's bogus tip, every tip has to be looked into. Every piece of information has to be investigated, and you have to be able to get that to them in a timely manner.
Right. And
that's why cases go cold, because families understand.
Right.
They sit back and, they're probably busy, or they're probably going to call me next week or whatever. No, don't. If they don't return your call in 4 days, that's ample enough time. And if they're not on vacation or in training, then you need to call back. And, it's been 4 days. I've been waiting for someone to call.
Okay.
Thank you, Mickey, for hanging in there, and thank you for telling us your story of your perspective with your sister missing, and let's hope Alyssa's found. Thank you, Susan.
Yes.
Susan, give out your new website one more time, please.
DocumentTheAbuse.com.
All right, and Monica, what's your website one more time?
It's www.ncmissingpersons.org.
You know by now that God, country, and our moral heritage are not for sale, and our great country needs your fervent prayers. Talk to your friends. Talk to your enemies. Spread the word about the Roth Show. Check out Lori's articles, archives, and great sponsors. Go to therothshow.com. Remember to pray for our country, and remember to be back next time, right here on The Roth Show with Dr. Lori Roth.